Hello, I'm Master Sommelier Emmanuel Kemiji, and my guest today is my friend Luis Hernandez Cruz, who is generally acknowledged to be one of the foremost Latin abstract painters of the moment. Luis, apart from being a professor of art and director of the art department in the museum at the University of Puerto Rico, has paintings exhibited in museums all over the world, innumerable international awards, and has had several books written about him. And you know you're good at what you do when people write books about you. But today it's my pleasure to be with him and in his beautiful gallery here in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I want to ask you, Luis, when did you start to draw?
No, since I was 5 years old. Yeah.
And who was the first teacher that said, you have some talent? And at what age?
Maybe it was at 10 years old. My first teacher. Then I have another teacher at the University High School, which helped me. And since there on, well, by my own, working, a lot of work.
So how old were you when you sold your first painting, and for how much did you sell it?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because really, when I was taking my art courses at 10 years old in Caguas, in the town of Caguas, Puerto Rico, I used to walk from the workshop where I was learning to my house, and passing by there was a man, an owner of a bicycle shop, and he the first time he said, what you are carrying there in your hand? And he saw the painting and he said, oh, I will give you $10 for this. And since then on, every Saturday he bought me the paintings. So I have been selling since I was 10 years old, and it's incredible. So and now I'm selling all right, but it's a different story. Very big.
A little more than $10
yeah,
now.
Yeah. And very big paintings.
So in those early days, who was the painter that influenced you in your early days when you started painting professionally?
Well, it was not a painter. It was a professor, an Argentinian who was teaching at University of Puerto Rico, and well, he introduced me to modern art, and he owns some paintings, and one of Giuseppe Santomaso, one of the important Italian painters of the 1940s. And that really sparked me. And then I started studying books at that moment. But he was a great mentor. Damian Bayon, he also was working in Paris at the Sorbonne, and he died already. But he really the one who introduced me to contemporary art at that time. And then I went to the American University in Washington, D.C., and I studied my master's degree. And I had a good teacher also, Ben Somerford. And he died already, and they made a good exhibition on his memory last year. And that was when the world opened to me, when I came and I went to Washington, D.C., and visited the museums and the galleries, and then I even knew some contemporary artists, and it was great.
Okay. And then now, through the years, your style has changed and what you paint. What makes a painter decide to change style or to change what he paints? At what point for you has that happened?
Well, since I started at the University of Puerto Rico, and I had a show there for the first show at the library, and it was of abstract paintings, because I knew abstract painting through the books. There was no good television or these new things. And then, since that moment on, and when I studied in Washington, then when I traveled to Europe, I knew that abstraction was the language of 20th century. And since that moment, for these last 60 years of my professional work, I have been teaching new generations and also working in different directions, but always with the base of the abstract language. Yeah.
So, favorite classic painter?
Oh, classics.
Favorite
Well,
old master?
Yeah, well, you know, Raphael is known as the prince of painters, but Tiziano, also from Italy and a Venetian, he was called the king of painters, and he was called like that in Italy at his time, that 1400s. So those are the classics one. Well, there are many others,
Sure.
for history, but that's another story.
And how about a modern painter that you admire, 20th century painter that you admire?
Well, there are so many, and a good many few, but basically Matisse, no? And also the first time I knew really well his work was Nicolas Destaille, a Russian artist who was working in Paris, and he started a very abstract style that influenced many American artists also.
Now, I also know that you do sculptures. In fact, I'm fortunate to say that I have a couple of your sculptures, and here's one of them sitting right next to us. The sculpture that has moved you the most, that has influenced you the most?
Well, initially, Henry Moore, the English sculptor who is great, but there were some other classics like Jan Arp, and well, so many others. My sculpture, the one I admire most, is the one I did for the symposium, a sculpture symposium at the Botanical Garden of our university, which started years ago. It was started by Pablo Rubio, the great sculptor we have, and he was my pupil at university. And I have one there called the woods, no, and El Bosque, which also is in a wood, right, in the wood there in the garden, and it is of 200 stainless steel tubes going up to the sky of 20 feet high, and that is the one I like most of what my work. Yeah.
Now, when somebody says the name Luis Hernandez Crus, what is the thought that you would like them to have of you?
Well, they have it already that I am an old painter that worked for many years, and maybe if I go on, maybe I will reach the 70 years of work. And one of the artists that have worked more, because I have about, we have a inventory of that, about 1,200 works of art. I have that in a record, in electronic registration. I also have my website with about 600 works that you can see there. And well, that's the issue.
And I know you have a particular hobby, bonsai trees, where you take, I guess, miniaturized trees. How did that start? That's a very unusual and...
Well, I have been doing many things, no? I did also ceramics, for example, at one time, which was something that happened suddenly when I met a friend who, very famous here, Jaime Suarez, who did the totem in Old San Juan.
Okay.
And in that way, this happened the same thing. I met a master, and I liked what I saw, and I said, well, I will try this as a hobby. Eventually, it has become part of my life. The bonsais I've been working for the last 20 years, are more what I call tropical bonsai. You know, bonsai means a tree on a dish, and it can be this size, I mean 6 inches, or 12. And I have seen photos of Vietnamese bonsais of 8 and 10 feet on a big dish, on a big
Sure.
tiesto, how we call it,
Right.
pot,
A pot. Right.
But, and mine are tropical because they are they endure the storms, the hot sun. See, you cannot have a Japanese tree here unless you have a place with a shadow and cover and temperatures. No, these are natural. They grow naturally.
Well, when I first met you, now a long time ago, you were a Johnny Walker Black drinker, okay? And then I convinced you to design a wine label for one of my wines.
Yeah.
And I told you that you have to start drinking wine because now you're a wine label designer, right? And so in front of us, we have my Bonsai wine.
Good.
So what, I know you're enjoying a little Chardonnay, I'm enjoying a little Pinot Grigio. Your thoughts, what do you think?
Oh, very good. Very good. And very handled, of course. Very handled. And, you know, I haven't seen this particularly. It's the first time.
Well, we just introduced them to Puerto Rico about a month ago, and so far people seem to be enjoying them.
Very good.
Easy, especially for the beaches and pools here. So, as always,
And for alcoholics also.
don't say that.
Of course. Of course. If you drink alcohol, I'm an alcoholic. In a way, I drink alcohol
Well,
all my life.
I
So.
guess we are.
But this is fine alcohol, fine grapes,
Yes,
fine
yes.
juice, fine juice.
Fine juice, fine
Okay.
grape juice.
Taste.
Salud.
Salud.